Beloved soul, before another word is spoken, receive this blessing. May peace settle over your shoulders like a warm shawl. May love fill every empty corner of your heart. And may you feel, even now, that you are held by hands you cannot see but have always known. Welcome to the Angel's Message for You original channel. Please check the name. This is our only official channel. Please beware of copycat and pirated channels, and stay connected to the original source for authentic angel messages and true blessings. Before we begin, a heartfelt thank you to Teresa for sowing a seed for Soulmate through your Ko-Fi super thanks. May this seed return to you multiplied with Soulmate blessings, divine protection, love, well-being, and abundance. May the angels guide and watch over you every step of your journey. Stay with these words until the very last line, because something is going to be said near the end that your soul has been waiting to hear for a very long time. It is not a warning. It is not bad news. It is a door opening. And if you leave too soon, you may miss the exact sentence that was written just for you. Before we begin, I want to promise you something. This is not going to be one of those messages that leaves you feeling worse than when you started. There will be no fear tactics here, no scary countdowns, no pressure to change everything about your life by tomorrow morning. What you are about to hear is gentle, honest, and meant to hold you exactly as you are right now, worries and all. So take a slow breath, let your shoulders drop away from your ears, and allow yourself to simply receive what comes next, without judging yourself for needing to hear it. Last night, something happened that changed the way I see you. I was near someone who loves you, listening quietly, the way angels do, when a private moment unfolded. This person spoke softly to a friend, and what came out of their mouth was not a complaint. It was a confession. They talked about the years passing. They talked about time. And underneath every word was a truth that many people carry but almost never say out loud. Their voice shook a little, not because they were weak, but because they were finally being honest. They spoke about feeling like time was moving faster than they were ready for. They spoke about wondering if they had done enough, loved enough, tried enough. And as I listened, I understood that this was not really a conversation about age at all. It was a conversation about worth, about whether a life is still meaningful once the years start to add up. I want you to know something before we go any further. Whoever you are, wherever you are in your own life right now, some part of you has felt this too. That quiet ache when you look in the mirror and wonder where the time went. That small fear that maybe your best days are behind you instead of ahead. That whisper that tells you it might be too late to start again. Hear this clearly. It is not too late. It was never too late. And tonight, the angels are asking you to set that fear down, gently, like a heavy bag you have been carrying for far too long. The person I overheard did not know they were being watched over. They thought they were only talking to a friend in a quiet room. But heaven hears every word spoken in trust, every tear that falls in private, every fear whispered when no one else is supposed to be listening. And what they shared that night was so honest, so raw, that it deserves to be turned into a message of healing rather than kept as a secret of shame. They said they felt invisible sometimes. Not ignored by others, but quiet inside their own life, as if their voice had grown smaller over the years without them noticing. They said they feared being forgotten before they had truly lived. And in that fear, there was something beautiful hiding, because only a soul that still longs to matter, to shine, to be fully alive, could feel a fear like that. Numbness does not fear being forgotten. Only love does. Only a heart that still wants more from life feels that ache. If you have ever felt unseen, even while surrounded by people, this message is for you. If you have ever sat quietly at a table full of laughter and felt strangely alone, this message is for you. If you have ever looked at your own reflection and wondered who that tired, older face belongs to, this message is for you. The angels see you, not the mask you wear for the world, but the real you underneath, the one who still hopes, still dreams, still wonders if it is possible to feel joy again the way you once did. Age was never meant to be a measurement of worth. It is simply proof that you survived. Every year you have lived is a year you made it through storms that could have broken you, heartbreaks that could have hardened you, losses that could have silenced you, and yet here you are, still breathing, still searching, still curious enough to listen to a message like this one. That alone tells the angels something important about you. Your spirit has not given up. The friend who listened that night said very little. Sometimes the most loving thing another person can do is simply stay present while someone else feels their pain out loud. No advice, no fixing, just quiet company. And I want to offer you that same gift right now through these words. You do not need to have your life figured out. You do not need to pretend you are fine when you are tired. You are allowed to simply be witnessed exactly as you are in this very moment. Let me tell you what the angels want you to understand about the years that feel heavy. Every regret you carry is not proof that you failed. It is proof that you cared enough to want something different. A person with no dreams has no regrets, because they never reached for anything in the first place. You reached. Maybe you did not catch everything you reached for, but the reaching itself was sacred. It meant your heart was still alive and still hoping. There is a quiet lie that many people believe as the years pass. The lie says that certain doors close forever once a certain birthday arrives. The lie says love only comes to the young. The lie says new beginnings belong to other people, not to you. Beloved, that is not truth. That is fear dressed up as fact. Heaven does not measure your potential by candles on a cake. Heaven measures your potential by the willingness still burning quietly inside your chest. Even now, even after everything. Think about the seeds that fall into soil late in a season. They still grow. They simply grow on their own timeline, not on anyone else's. You are allowed to bloom exactly when you are ready, not when the world expects you to. There is no rulebook that says joy, love, purpose, or change must arrive before a certain point in your story. Your story is still being written, and the most powerful chapters are often the ones that come after the pages everyone thought were the ending. If these words about seeds and soil resonate with you, know that some souls choose to plant something of their own tonight, simply as an act of faith rather than obligation. There is a Ko-Fi link in the description if you ever feel called to sow a small seed of your own. No pressure, only an open door for those who wish to walk through it. The person I overheard whispered something that stayed with me for a long time afterward. They said they were afraid they had wasted years chasing things that did not matter, while ignoring the things that truly did. If that thought has ever crossed your own mind, please hear this gently. Nothing in your past was wasted. Every choice, even the ones you now see differently, taught your soul something it needed to learn. You are not behind. You are exactly where your journey required you to be in order to finally hear this message today. Sometimes growth does not look like moving forward quickly. Sometimes growth looks like sitting quietly with the truth of who you have become, forgiving the parts of your story that hurt, and choosing to begin again with softer eyes. That kind of growth cannot be rushed, and it cannot be judged by a calendar. It happens in its own sacred time, and that time is now, for you reading these words. Let us talk about the fear of being forgotten, because that fear seems to live quietly in so many hearts. You may worry that once you are older, people will stop noticing you, stop needing you, stop remembering you the way they once did. But listen closely. You are not forgotten, not by heaven, and not by the people whose lives you have touched in ways you may never fully know. A kind word you once offered a stranger may still be living in their memory right now. A moment of patience you showed a child may have shaped who that child became. Your presence leaves fingerprints on the world that outlast any fear of being unseen. And even if certain people in your life have not shown you the appreciation you deserve, that does not erase your worth. Your value was never dependent on being noticed by everyone. It was placed in you before you were born, and it cannot be taken away by silence, by distance, or by time. You matter simply because you exist. That truth does not have an expiration date. The angels want to gently remind you of something else tonight. Comparing your life to someone else's timeline will only steal your peace. Someone else may have found love earlier. Someone else may have built their career faster. Someone else may seem to have everything settled while you still feel like you are searching. But their path is not your path, and your path is not behind theirs. It is simply your own. There is no race here. There is no scoreboard in heaven counting who arrived where first. There is only the quiet, patient unfolding of each soul's unique journey. If you have been feeling tired lately, tired in a way that sleep does not fully fix, know that this tiredness is often a sign of a soul that has been carrying too much alone. You do not have to hold everything together by yourself anymore. It is safe to ask for help. It is safe to rest. It is safe to say out loud, even if only to yourself, that you are struggling. Strength does not mean never breaking down. Strength means being honest enough to admit when you need support and brave enough to accept it when it comes. Now I want to speak directly to the part of you that has quietly wondered if it is too late for certain dreams. Too late to change your path. Too late to fall in love again. Too late to start something new. Too late to feel excited about life the way you once did. Beloved, hear this with your whole heart. It is not too late. The very fact that this wondering still lives inside you is proof that the dream is not dead, only sleeping. And anything that is sleeping can be gently woken up. Think of all the people throughout history who began something extraordinary later than the world expected. Their stories exist to remind you that timing belongs to the soul, not to the calendar. Your moment has not passed. It may simply be arriving now, disguised as this very message you are reading. Let this next part settle deeply within you. Whatever confession you have been afraid to say out loud, whatever fear you have kept hidden even from the people closest to you, you are allowed to release it. You do not have to carry it in silence any longer. Speak it to a trusted friend. Write it down, whisper it in prayer, or simply acknowledge it quietly to yourself right now. The weight you have been carrying was never meant to be carried forever. Naming it is the first step towards setting it down. The angels are not here to judge the years you feel you lost. They are here to help you reclaim the years that remain. However many candles have been lit on your cakes, however many birthdays have quietly come and gone while you wondered if you were doing life right, none of that changes the truth of this moment. Right now, in this breath, you have a fresh beginning available to you. Not tomorrow, not next year. Now, plant your seed of faith today by sending a coffee on Ko-Fi. This isn't just a gift. It's an act of faith and worship, inviting God's presence into your love story. The link is in the description and pinned comment for sowing seed through Ko-Fi link. Don't ignore what God may be calling you to do. Act now. After sending, write, "Protect my soulmate, Lord," on the Ko-Fi page using the link in the description and in pinned comment. Thousands of believers have taken this step as a faith-filled expression of prayer for their future spouse and the love story they are trusting God to, right? Pray sincerely and place your trust in Jesus as you complete these steps. Step out in faith before this video ends. Trust God with your future, your heart, and the person He has prepared for you. Let us pause here for a moment, because there is more the angels want you to hear before this message ends. Many people carry a quiet habit of comparing their private struggles to other people's polished surfaces. You scroll, you glance, you notice someone who seems to have it all together, and a small voice inside whispers that you are falling short somehow. Beloved, what you see on the outside of another life is rarely the whole truth. Everyone carries a private room full of doubts, fears, and unfinished business, even the people who appear the most confident. You are not failing simply because your life does not look like a highlight reel. You are living, and living honestly is worth more than performing perfectly. There is a kind of freedom that comes from finally letting go of the need to keep up with anyone else's timeline. Imagine setting that heavy expectation down, the way you might set down a bag you have carried for miles without realizing how tired your shoulders had become. The moment you stop measuring your life against someone else's, you create space to actually notice your own progress, your own small victories, your own quiet growth. That growth may not be loud or visible to others, but it is real, and it matters deeply. Self-forgiveness is one of the most powerful gifts you can offer yourself right now. Think of every moment you have replayed in your mind, wishing you had said something different, chosen something different, been someone different. Holding on to those moments does not change the past. It only steals peace from your present. The angels are asking you tonight to gently release yourself from that old courtroom you have been standing in, judging yourself again and again for choices that were made with the understanding you had at the time. You did the best you could with what you knew. That is enough. That has always been enough. Consider this an invitation rather than a warning. An invitation to stop measuring your worth by the mistakes of your past. An invitation to stop comparing your unfolding story to everyone else's highlight reel. An invitation to trust that your soul knew exactly what it was doing when it brought you to this exact point in your life, at this exact age, reading these exact words. If you have been feeling unseen, unheard, or unimportant, please know that heaven sees the quiet efforts you make every single day. The small kindnesses no one applauds. The private battles no one witnesses. The moments you choose to keep going even when it would be easier to give up. None of that goes unnoticed by the divine. You are being watched over with more love and more pride than you could ever imagine. There is a gentle shift happening in your life, even if you cannot feel it yet on the surface. The very fact that you were drawn to this message tonight is part of that shift. Nothing about your presence here is random. Some quiet nudge, some inner knowing, some whisper from beyond guided you to press play, to keep listening, to stay until now. Trust that nudge. Rarely leads you somewhere without a reason. Let this be the moment you decide to release the fear of aging as if it were a punishment. Let this be the moment you begin to see each passing year instead as evidence of your resilience, your wisdom, and your growing capacity to love more deeply than before. You are not falling apart with time, you are being refined by it, the way fire refines gold, the way pressure turns coal into something brilliant and lasting. You may have noticed small signs lately that felt strangely comforting. A certain number appearing again and again, a feather in an unexpected place, a song playing at just the right moment, a stranger's kind word landing exactly when you needed it most. These are not coincidences. They are gentle taps on the shoulder from the unseen world, quiet reminders that you are supported, guided, and never truly alone, even in your loneliest moments. The next time you notice one of these small signs, pause and let yourself feel the comfort it was meant to bring, rather than dismissing it as chance. Healing does not require giant leaps. It happens through small, steady steps taken with patience and kindness toward yourself. You do not need to transform your entire life overnight to prove that you are worthy of peace. You simply need to take one gentle step today, and then another tomorrow. Maybe that step is resting when you are tired instead of pushing through out of guilt. Maybe it is reaching out to someone you have missed. Maybe it is simply sitting quietly for 5 minutes and allowing yourself to breathe without rushing toward the next task. Small steps taken consistently build a life that finally feels like your own. Your body has carried you through every single year of your life so far, through illness and recovery, through sleepless nights and long days, through heartbreak and healing. It deserves gratitude rather than criticism. The lines on your face are not flaws. They are a map of everything you have lived through and survived. The tiredness in your bones is not a failure. It is evidence of how much you have given, how hard you have worked, how deeply you have loved. Speak to your body with kindness tonight. It has been faithful to you, even on the days you forgot to be kind to it in return. Think back on who you were many years ago. You have already survived versions of pain you once thought would break you completely. You made it through. And the person you are today, tired as you may feel sometimes, carries a depth, a compassion, and an understanding that your younger self simply did not have yet. That depth is a gift, not a burden. It is proof of a life fully lived, not a life running out of time. The friend who listened that night without judgment offered something so simple yet so powerful: presence without pressure. I want to leave that same gift with you now. You do not need to have this all figured out today. You do not need a 5-year plan, a perfect routine, or a fully healed heart before you are allowed to feel peace. Peace is available to you exactly as you are, in this unfinished, still becoming beautifully imperfect moment. As we come toward the heart of this message, I want you to place a hand gently over your chest if you are able, and simply breathe. Feel the rhythm beneath your palm, the quiet proof that you are alive, that your story is not finished, that there is still time for softer days ahead. That rhythm has carried you through every hard season you have ever faced, and it is still carrying you now, steady, patient, faithful. Let us also speak gently about love, because so much of the fear people carry about time passing is quietly tangled up with fear about love. Maybe you have wondered if you missed your chance at a deep, lasting connection. Maybe you have watched relationships around you and felt a private ache, wondering why yours has not unfolded the same way. Maybe you have loved before and lost it, and now some part of you doubts it could ever happen again. Beloved, love is not rationed by age. Love does not run out because a certain number of years have passed. The heart that is capable of loving deeply at any age is still capable of it now, and often even more capable, because it has learned through experience what truly matters and what does not. If you are already in a loving relationship, let this be a gentle reminder to look at that person again today with fresh eyes, the way you did when everything still felt new. If you are walking through life without a partner right now, let this be a reminder that your worth was never dependent on being chosen by someone else. You are already whole. Any love that enters your life from here forward will be an addition to that wholeness, not a rescue from incompleteness. And if healing from a past heartbreak is still part of your journey, be patient with yourself. Hearts do not heal on a schedule set by anyone else. They heal in their own time, and that time is sacred too. Just as a soulmate's love can grow quietly over time, unseen at first, then slowly rooting into something real, Some people find meaning in tending a different kind of seed, one offered freely as a gesture of faith and gratitude. If that speaks to you, the Ko-fi link in the description is simply there for anyone who feels called to it. Family relationships often carry their own quiet weight as the years pass. Perhaps there are words left unsaid to someone you love. Perhaps there is a small distance that grew without anyone meaning for it to happen. Perhaps there is forgiveness still waiting to be offered or received. If it feels safe and right for you, consider this message a gentle nudge to reach out, even with something as simple as a short message letting someone know they are thought of. Time has a way of teaching us that the conversations we postpone are often the ones we wish later we had not waited so long to have. There is also something quietly important the angels want to say about purpose. So many people believe purpose has to be one enormous, unmistakable calling, discovered early in life and followed perfectly from that point forward. But purpose is often much softer and much more flexible than that. Purpose can shift as you grow. What lit you up at 20 may not be what fulfills you now, and that is not a failure, that is simply evolution. You are allowed to outgrow old dreams and welcome new ones without guilt. The soul is not static. It is always moving, always learning, always becoming more of who it was truly meant to be. If you feel unsure what your purpose looks like today, start simply. Notice what makes you feel most like yourself. Notice the moments when time seems to disappear because you are so present in what you are doing. Notice who you feel most drawn to help, comfort, or encourage. These small clues, gathered gently over time, often lead to a much clearer sense of direction than waiting for one dramatic sign from the sky. Purpose is often found in the quiet noticing, not in the loud searching. You are also not meant to walk this path completely alone, even if it sometimes feels that way. Somewhere in this vast world, other souls are on a similar journey, feeling the same fears, asking the same questions, longing for the same peace you are longing for tonight. In a strange and beautiful way, simply by listening to this message, you are joined with countless others seeking comfort at this very moment. You are part of a quiet community of hearts choosing to heal, choosing to hope, choosing to believe that it is not too late for goodness to still find them. Consider starting each morning, even for just one quiet minute, with a simple truth spoken gently to yourself. Something like, "Today I am exactly where I need to be," or "I am allowed to grow at my own pace," or "My life still has beautiful chapters left to write." These small words, repeated with intention, slowly reshape the beliefs your heart carries about itself. Over time, what once felt like fear begins to soften into trust, and what once felt like an ending begins to feel like a beginning in disguise. Here is the truth the angels most want you to walk away with tonight. You were never behind. You were never too late. You were never forgotten. Every year that has passed was simply preparing you for the years still coming. Years that can hold more peace, more honesty, more love, and more joy than you might currently believe possible. The confession I overheard that night was not a tragedy. It was the beginning of a healing, and that healing is now being offered to you too, through this very message. Gratitude, even in small doses, has a quiet way of shifting how time feels. Instead of counting the years as things slipping away, try counting the moments that made those years worth living. The first time someone made you laugh so hard your stomach hurt. A meal shared with people you love. A sunrise you almost missed but happened to catch. A song that still gives you chills every time you hear it. These moments do not disappear simply because time keeps moving forward. They live inside you, shaping who you are, adding richness to a life that is still very much being written. Tonight, if you can, Name even 3 small moments like these to yourself. Let them remind you that your life has already held more beauty than fear would have you believe. Self-compassion is not selfish, it is necessary. You would never speak to a dear friend the way you sometimes speak to yourself in the quiet of your own mind. You would never tell a friend they are too old, too late, too far behind to matter. You would hold their hand and remind them of their worth. Tonight, the angels are asking you to become that same gentle friend to yourself. The next time that harsh inner voice rises up, place a hand over your heart and speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love deeply. You deserve that same tenderness, especially from yourself. If tears are forming as you read this, let them fall. They are not a sign of weakness. They are a sign of release, a sign that something inside you recognizes this truth as your own. Let the tears wash away the old belief that you are running out of time. You are not running out of time. You are simply being invited to use the time you have left with more intention, more courage, and more self-compassion than before. Every harvest begins somewhere, often with a seed so small it goes almost unnoticed at the moment it is planted. If you have felt nourished by this message and wish to plant a seed of your own in return, the Ko-fi link in the description is waiting quietly for whoever feels drawn to it, purely as an offering, never a requirement. There is one more thing the angels want you to carry with you beyond this moment. Whatever season of life you find yourself in right now, whether it feels bright and full of promise or heavy and uncertain, that season is not permanent. Seasons change. Winter always gives way to spring, no matter how long and cold it feels while you are living through it. If you are in a hard season right now, please trust that it is not the end of your story. It is simply a chapter, and chapters turn. If you are in a beautiful season right now, let yourself fully enjoy it without waiting anxiously for it to end. Presence is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself at any age. You might be wondering what to actually do with everything you have heard tonight. You do not need a complicated plan. Simply carry this feeling with you, this sense of being seen, supported, and gently released from old fears about time. Let it soften the way you speak to yourself tomorrow morning. Let it soften the way you look at your own reflection. Let it soften the harsh inner voice that sometimes tells you that you are behind, too old, or running out of chances. That voice was never telling the truth. It was only echoing old fears that never belonged to you in the first place. Trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it needs to. Trust that the timing of your life, even the parts that feel delayed or uncertain, is being gently guided by something far wiser than your worried mind. Trust that the very fact you found this message tonight was not random. You were meant to hear these words at this exact point in your journey, for reasons that will likely become clearer with time. Let that trust settle into your chest like warm light, replacing the tightness that fear so often leaves behind. Before we close, receive this final blessing. May every fear about growing older dissolve into gratitude for having lived long enough to grow at all. May every regret soften into wisdom that guides your next choices with more grace. May every quiet ache of feeling forgotten be replaced with the knowing that you are deeply, constantly, unconditionally seen and loved by forces far greater than this world. And may you walk forward from this moment lighter, freer, and more certain than ever that your story is far from finished. You are exactly where you are meant to be. You are not too old, not too late, not too far gone to feel joy, purpose, and love again. The years ahead of you are not a countdown. They are an open invitation. Walk into them gently, walk into them bravely, and know that you never walk alone. If this message touched something inside you, sit with it a little longer before you go. Let the words settle. Let the blessing take root. And whenever you feel afraid again that time is slipping away, remember this moment, remember this truth, and remember that you were always, always enough. Carry this with you as you step back into your day, your evening, your ordinary and extraordinary life. You are not behind schedule. You are not running out of chances. You are not too old for joy, too late for love, or too far gone for a fresh start. You are a soul still growing, still learning, still capable of astonishing beauty in the years that remain. The angels are walking beside you, quietly, patiently, lovingly, whether you feel them or not. So breathe once more gently. Let your shoulders soften. Let your heart unclench just a little. And know without doubt that you are deeply loved, endlessly supported, and exactly on time for everything that is still meant to unfold in your beautiful, unfinished story. Dear beautiful soul, this angel's message for you channel is a sacred spiritual home, created for faith, healing, and divine guidance. A place where hearts awaken and lives are gently transformed through divine messages. We warmly invite you to subscribe and stay connected, because the divine is always preparing something greater for your journey, something you are meant to receive in divine timing. If you feel moved to support this mission, you can sow your seed here for your soulmate blessings and divine love fulfillment. Your contribution is not just support. It is an energetic agreement with love, healing, and divine alignment in your own life. When you give with intention, it opens doors. Love flows more freely, happiness expands, and abundance multiplies in unexpected ways. Many believe that giving in faith activates a return of peace, joy, and emotional fulfillment in relationships and life. Whether it is $11, $22, $33, or $55, your generosity helps us continue spreading these divine messages of hope, healing, and soulmate guidance across the world. Every seed sown into this mission helps hearts heal, faith return, and souls reconnect with love. This is more than a channel. It is a movement of light, unity, and divine timing. Your support allows this sacred work to grow, touching lives that are searching for answers, comfort, and spiritual direction. We are all connected in this journey, and together we rise as one community under divine love. Let us open our hearts to the abundance that is already on its way. Amen.